Ma'am, we are live now.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you. And ma'am, we can start now.
Yeah.
Recording.
So a very very good morning to all of you. आप सबको जन्माष्टमी की अनंत शुभकामनाएं. ईश्वर आपके सबके जीवन पर बहुत कृपा करे हमेशा. So we start formally now. We have amongst us Mr. Lalit Pankaj, who was a worthy student of our college, Department of Microbiology during 2004 to 2007. Uh, for starting the program, I first want to thank wholeheartedly our dynamic principal, Professor Praveen Garg sir, who has always been encouraging in all constructive activities. And despite his super busy schedule, he accommodates all good work in his schedule. And especially today, since it's a festival, everybody is busy. Even sir has must be busy with his family and all. But still, he has he's not only here, but he came before time, which is very very encouraging for us. We are very grateful to you, sir. So, sir, I would like to request you to formally welcome Mr. Lalit Pankaj, who is our child, but today our eminent speaker also. Over to you, sir. Yes, sir.
Myself, madam?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Thank you, Archana, madam. It's a great pleasure that Department of Microbiology of our college has taken this initiative to occasion the teachers and students for opportunities in abroad also. And again, this pleasure becomes multiplied when we see our own student is there to guide our new students as well as teachers also indirectly. So although many things are known to the students who are going abroad after graduation, basic problems or innocence comes when they try to move after 10th, 11th, 12th like this. But after graduation, lot of majority, lot of, I should say, responsibility is there among the students, and they can choose, pinpoint their objective, their careers, what they want to learn by going abroad. And it becomes easier for them also to choose the appropriate advising peoples, either in the case of consultants, advertising agencies, direct from the embassies like this. Moreover, what I have seen for the students, they should particularly pinpoint their objectives. Then it is only beneficial for them. Just for going abroad never gives you anything. What I have seen in the last 40 years, you can say till 85 or till 90, 90 means 88 and 90s, people were trying to go abroad for this shopping, etc., for tourism, for bringing some foreign articles, imported items. They were visiting, but nowadays that craze is almost 100% over. Now there is no craze for imported things, and particularly by moving abroad to purchase them like this. But education is still a fancy to get it from abroad. And due to their mechanized systems, their expertise, their pinpoint features about the education and all that, I should say. And my personal opinion is this: due to such kind of pinpointed techniques in abroad, everyone should at least have 1 year of experience in education in abroad. Therefore, I also went 4 or 5 times, although for this seminars, conferences, I sent my daughter also, particularly for this, my son also, at least 1 year knowledge, so that people here also in India, they come to know how work is done, how we have to faithful for our work, systematic of the working conditions also comes to know. And in sciences, we have seen great opportunities are there due to complexity of availability of, I should say, complexity is here, availability of infrastructures, instruments and equipments, glassware, chemicals, all are there, and they can move to any extent up to gene level or up to atom level in foreign countries. Here still we have impediments for that. We have to move to certain pinpoint labs, one in every state, but that also not there. So yeah, again, I will welcome Lalit ji that he is given time. तो बड़ा सा कंपेयरिंग करूंगा ललित जी से, तो ये मैं टीचर हेयर, बट आई ज्वाइंड TIFR फॉर 1 month आफ्टर माय MSc. So I went there due to my gate and got through there also. As a JRF, they wanted to sustain me over there, but I preferred here JNU only, near to my house. House का थोड़ा सा होता है स्टिग्मा, घर पर ही है. तो TIFR में भी 1 महीना रहा और थोड़ी सी सिमिलरिटी है ललित जी से. देन ललित जी वाज अगेन विद अस. मैडम ने बैच नहीं बताया इनका कौन सा था.
2004 to 7 सर.
अच्छा 4 to 7. फिर तो इनसे मुलाकात भी हुई होगी कभी, इन्होंने देखा होगा. तो विद दीज वर्ड्स I shall again wish my students they should at least try to go abroad with a proper vision, not like this कि Mr. A is going, Mr. B is going, I also should move, मैं पड़ोसी जा रहा है, मेरा और रिश्तेदार गया है, भाई गया है. If they have a proper vision and then they think it is not possible to get here, or I can get better opportunities there, better easiness is over there, then they should surely try to go abroad. I wish Lalit ji will throw deep consultations of expert advices how we can move abroad, particularly Canada, US, European countries, Australia, why it is easier for some countries, why it is difficult for some countries, and what are the overall strategy to stay over there, not only for education and come back. So many people think they will stay over there after education, they will try to get jobs, and after education, job opportunities. So everything will be discussed and advised by Shri Lalit ji with us. With these words, I again hand over to Archana madam for further activities and movement. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words, encouraging words. And I want to thank you again for leaving TIFR and joining JNU and then joining Swami Shraddhanand College, because today you are working so hard in all the facets and bringing a lot of progress to the college, sir. So a lot of the activities are happening day and night, and sir is very busy, and we are very happy. So thank you for that. And I agree with the Professor Garg, sir, that going abroad with an open mind, with some proper goals, specific goals, is actually an eye-opener. It's my personal experience also. It's an exchange process. We teach a lot of Indian things over there, and we imbibe so many better things which the Western world is doing, and then we become the best of both worlds. So even I would advise that one should go with proper objectives and go and feel and learn. And I have chosen for myself to come back to my country and serve my country, which I'm doing, sir. Now, moving on ahead, let us, we are approaching towards the actual talk, and I would like to keep it short by saying that Lalit, I came across Lalit in 2004 as a very simple, down-to-earth guy who was very hardworking, research-oriented, honest, and very systematic. So we all teachers developed an instant liking to him, and he got very good friends among his batchmates. After that, he has sustained his efforts and made it big in life, and he's now touching so many lives in a positive way to enhance the lives of the students. Now, it's very common, like Dr. Garg said just now, that if the students find out from here and there, they can become misled, which he will cover in the talk, because we were discussing yesterday what all he was going to cover today. So how to go about it, to not get duped and get the most of the time and money spent and effort spent. So that will be coming in his talk. Before he can start, just 4 lines of his minimum introduction. For that, I'm inviting Miss Anshita Mehra, a worthy student of microbiology honors 3rd year. And before she starts, I want to tell Garg sir that it's not a microbiology event, sir. It's our college event, alumnus event. So this time it's microbiology department. And so I'm very proud to be getting this opportunity to host the alumni session for the entire college. Thank you. So over to Anshita.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this opportunity. A very bright morning to everyone present. I, Anshita, a 3rd-year student from Department of Microbiology, Swami Shraddhanand College, feel very elated to give the official introduction of our super senior and today's esteemed speaker, Mr. Lalit Pankaj. Lalit sir is a Toronto-based career counselor who has over a decade of experience in mentoring and guiding ambitious students and professionals to get admission in world's top educational institutes. He completed his BSc in microbiology from Swami Shraddhanand College in 2004 and Masters in Biology from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in 2007. After his studies, he worked in government jobs for 7 years at Indian Agriculture Research Institute, Delhi for 4 years and as Inspector Customs and GST for another 3 years. During this period, he also established Foundation for Local Science Initiatives, one of the India's leading NGOs aimed to ingrain scientific and innovative thinking into school students. When he migrated to Canada, he saw so many international students struggling even after spending enormous amount of time and money to study there. Upon deeper inquiry, it came to light that many end up into substandard colleges and universities without even trying at the top option. With Future Ready with Lalit, he aims to change this. He is on a mission to ensure that students get the best education and best job opportunities depending upon their interest and academic background. We are looking forward to have a great and enriching session with you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anshita. Can I start, ma'am? Can I start, sir? Thank you.
Sure.
So first of all, thanks a lot to Garg sir. With your blessings only it has been possible there, and I thank everybody to taking our time out on a Janmashtami day. I cannot be more thankful. I'm really heartfully thankful to all of you. About Archana ma'am, I just cannot express my gratitude to her in words. She has been a constant pillar of support for me since my college days, and an excellent teacher, a rare motivator whom you can trust, whose advice is so experience plus excellence. She is a perfect combination of both. Thank you all other faculty members. Thank you organizers for all the support that you have provided me for this. So the way I have planned it is, let me go ahead with the talk, and meanwhile, while your queries, whatever your queries are, you can write in the chat box. At the end of the session, we will take up all these queries. So the idea is that initially I'll speak a bit less, and so that we can have more time for discussions. This is not a highly technical talk. The aim of this talk is to orient you people about the opportunities, and sir has already discussed with you about the heart and soul of this talk. Just a second, let me start the presentation first. Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes. Yes.
So so I would like to start from Parveen sir's, Garg sir's comment only, that if you can know your objective, if you can pinpoint that will always give you the best outcome, whether you are studying in India or abroad. In this section, I will be briefly touching about the options abroad and how you should approach them. And then we will discuss in among all this discussion time that what all can best suit you. After this, is if someone of you are interested in discussing further, you all are invited for one-to-one sessions. So this, I am somebody whom you can rely upon because I have treaded the path that a lot of you people would be going on. So I did my microbiology from Shraddhanand College. After that, I did my master's. After my master's, I went into the government job. So first I worked in Indian Agriculture Research Institute, Pusa. After that, I worked as tax inspector. Life was good, but still that adventure part was that okay, let me get more out of my life. So with that idea, we left all the well settled job, came here and started all over again. While coming here, it's actually an experience. See, what happens is a lot of time in India, as Garg has told you, people don't present the picture honestly to the potential students. They may have their own compulsions, they may have their own reasons to do so, but sometimes students do get misguided, and as a result, they spend here a lot of time and effort, and they don't get the desired outcomes. So before coming to the abroad part, dear students, I want to make sure that please understand that yes, you are having great time in college, but college will end, and you will have to think about these options that okay, what do I do next? Should you go for higher studies? Should you go for jobs? If you go for jobs, should you go for government jobs or private jobs? If you are planning to go for higher studies, then should you go for, let us say, if you are a science student, should you go for MSc or should you take some integrated course like integrated PhD? If you want to go into education sector, should you do B.Ed or should you do integrated B.Ed or M.Ed? So all these questions, all these choices you will have to make in coming few years. It's always nice to gather some information. That's the topic of my entire presentation, that make these choices after gathering some information. These choices should be informed. It should not be that your friend is doing it or somebody you know have done it, so you should do it. No, please take some time out, do some research, and then make these choices. So these are some of the potential situations that I have written. You may feel like that you may add someone. I invite you to discuss some other situations that may arise to you during the discussion time. So imagine what all can happen to you. First of all, you are a good student. You are academically really bright, and you have the option of studying in India as well as from USA. And you can choose whichever you want. There is no other constraint. What will you do? Other potential situation before some of you may be that okay, let's accept it. You are an average student. You are not getting any seat in some really reputed institute in India. In that case, you are getting something from Canada. Then what should you do? So all of these situations can arise. You are really ambitious, like you are not only bright, but you really want to become the best scientist, best manager. Where should you study? What should you study? Then a lot of universities are offering integrated courses. For example, we spoke about TIFR. TIFR does offer the option of master's course, or you can club it with PhD. So you can do master's or integrated PhD. What should you do? A lot of students will face these questions whether to do MBA or not. So do your research, then come to the conclusion. Do not do it because somebody else is doing it. This is based on my experience. Your own experience may be different. So based on my experience, these are my conclusions. After graduation, good high-paying jobs, they simply don't exist in private sector unless you are entering into a highly regulated industry. So that I will explain at the end of it. If you want to go into government jobs, you can start planning while doing your studies. After graduation, I strongly encourage all of you to do masters in whatever field you are doing, because masters is the place where you will get real taste of research. So if you are doing physics, you are doing English, whatever you are studying, whatever course you are doing, graduation studies are completely different than masters. Take a taste of masters. If you like it, really good. If you do not like it, then think of options what to do after masters. Integrated courses are advantageous in the sense that integrated courses offer two really good advantages. The first advantage, and I'm talking about integrated courses like integrated PhD or integrated MBA or integrated MEd programs. Like you can do B.Ed and MEd both together if you want to go into that area. First of all, you don't have to appear for exam again and again. So in one single exam, if you clear that program, you are taken care of. Another advantage, and especially of integrated PhD, is that you start earning the moment you join that course. So immediately after your graduation, if you go into integrated PhD at TIFA, you will start making money, and the money is quite good, decent. However, the biggest disadvantage of integrated courses is that your path gets fixed. Let us say, for example, you did again, since I am from microbiology, I'll take example of microbiology only. A microbiology graduate who has done some research work on E. coli, what if later he or she wants to change into healthcare analytics? Then integrated PhD may not be such a good option, because since he has done his graduation and masters both in E. coli, most likely he will not get integrated. He will not get into a PhD program into a or a postdoc program into analytics field. So if somebody is doing into physics, he is likely to continue into physics. Within physics also, those of you who are aware of how research is done, it will be like very, very specific topics. So it's always nice to explore the options. It's always nice to keep your options open. Because of that single reason, I always say that prefer masters and then PhD rather than integrated courses. What about general versus specialized MBA? Those of you who would be going for MBA, you will have the option of choosing a general MBA like MBA in finance or MBA in operations versus hyper specialized MBA. One good example that Garg sir probably has also touched when he was introducing is that he knew somebody who was taking care of the ration supply in UN jobs. So basically, it was a supply chain related profession. Now, a lot of institutes have started offering MBA in integrated supply chains, because global supply chains, they have become really complicated. Should you do that? With my experience, no. Reason is, if you do or MBA in biotechnology or MBA in whatever, like healthcare, if you do MBA in these hyper specialized area, the number of job opportunities for you go down. Because please understand that a normal MBA operations guy can enter into supply chain as well as hospital, any facility operation, or as well as manufacturing of a medicine. But a person who has done MBA in supply chain or MBA in healthcare cannot enter into other
Hello,
areas.
sir. Can I speak someone?
Okay, so I'll continue, and then all these discussions we will have at the end. So these are based on my experience, and this is all I wanted to tell about the way you should do research in India. Now coming to the abroad part, please follow this step-by-step process. The first and foremost process thing that you have to think about while choosing the country that where should you study is, would you like to stay in that country or would you like to come back to India? First, all personal considerations, whether your relative is there or whether some other reasons your friend is there, should come at the last. For example, if your aim is to come back to India and work in India, then US and UK, they still have the best colleges and institutes, simply unmatched. US and UK are the number of top quality institutes that are there. No other country offers you that kind of opportunities. However, if the aim is to stay in that country and work in that foreign country itself, however, please understand that US and UK should I mean, think again, because US till recently it just asked students to go back. Similarly, in UK, they are not so immigration friendly. On the other hand, Canada is extremely in immigration friendly country. Australia is really immigration friendly country, and therefore they are among the top choices for students who want to stay abroad. Once you have chosen the country with this criteria in your mind, then see what about the job market. By job market, what I mean is, let us say, for example, if you want to study agriculture, let us say just you want to study agriculture, then probably Israel may, and you want to come back to India also, then even Israel may be a very good option for you. A lot of you may not even remember, may think of going to Israel, but Israel has a very thriving agriculture market. So first is the country, whether you would like to stay or come back. Depending on that, then you go for how many companies are there, what kind of jobs are offered there. Does that country allows you to work while studying or not? This is also a very important criteria. And if you look at this criteria, again, Canada comes right at the top, because a lot of countries don't allow you to work while you are studying there, whereas so a lot of countries do. Then you go for ranking of the university and other personal considerations. With all of these, if you follow this step-by-step process, you will find that Canada is one of the topmost choice for Indian students. And let me take some more time to explain this slide. Of course, there are really good quality institutes. Wages are higher. Those of you who are really interested may already know by now that minimum wages, all employers are required to pay minimum wages, and minimum wages in Ontario, where I am living, is $15 now. So 15 Canadian dollars now. So that's the starting wages. About inequality, I really would like to explain a thing, because this is something that not all of students get it. See, in India, there are some jobs that are considered as low level jobs. You all know what kind of jobs I am telling about. However, in Canada, no job is considered as low level job, because the difference between the lowest salary and the highest salary is not much. In India, you may have seen somebody working for an entire month and yet making around 6,000 to 8,000 rupees. You must have seen some people doing that. And you must have also seen people who are making 6 to 8 lakh rupees per month. So the difference between lowest salary and highest salary can be as much as 100 times, whereas in Canada, it's hardly 3 to 4 times. Almost everybody makes around $40,000 a year, almost everybody. And very few people are able to cross $140,000 or $150,000 a year, lawyers or specialist doctors only. So the salary difference is less. Kids study in the same school. Everybody goes and eats in the same restaurant. Everybody owns almost same kind of car. So if in terms of lifestyle, it's equal. Because of that, all jobs are respected. A person who is earning the highest salary will actually treat the person earning lowest salary with respect. Flexibility, I will tell in detail in next slides. One of the key thing that makes Canada the topmost destination is the relative ease to become citizen. So if you are interested in becoming citizen and settling in some foreign country, Canada must be on your top of your mind, because here what happens is, all students who come here, see, the way it works is, all students come here, you are allowed to work the moment your courses are starting. So when you are landing here, when you are joining the course, immediately you can start working for 20 hours a week. So you get a chance to work and earn while you are studying. Once your course is complete, you will get postgraduate work permit. So if your duration of your course is for 1 year, you will get 1 year work permit. If the duration of your course is 2 years or higher, you will get work permit up to 3 years. Now, within those 3 years, it's fairly simple. Now, within those 3 years, when you work for 1 year in your field, you become eligible for PR. And the PR means permanent resident. It's a step below citizen, but it's like you are permanently Canadian now. Once you become PR, all you have to do is to stay in Canada for 3 years to become a citizen. So path is relatively straightforward. Almost all students who come here for studies, almost all of them, they end up becoming citizen here unless they themselves want to go back. Canada is also around 20% cheaper than US and UK. And I have already discussed to you that you get a chance of working while you are studying itself. About the flexibility part that I told you. Yeah. So going ahead about the flexibility part, see here university system is different, college system is different. Universities are focused of, so for example, everybody who is studying from Swami Shraddhanand College will get a degree from Delhi University. In Canada, it's different. And colleges focus more on preparing students for job market. So if you are studying in a college, you can be job ready in as less as 8 months. If you are studying in universities, the universities tend to focus more on higher education and research. Now, the variety of courses is enormous, like huge. You can take courses, I told you, from 8 months to 4 years, depending on your interest. A science student can go into so number of courses. Here, environment is really big deal. The government pays you to work for protecting environment. The pay is really good. So you will see a lot of environmentalists here, a lot of environmental law specialists here. Coming for IPR laws and attorneys, they are among the highest paid professionals here. You can also go into regulatory affairs, clinical research. You can also go into like sales and services of scientific instruments. If not, you can specifically study that how to manage a pharma manufacturing facility, like you can become a facility manager. So the courses can be very specific also. Depending on your interest, you can choose. Not only that, this is another part is that, let me go. So for both science, arts, and all students, like you can choose a lot here. There is no restriction that a science student has to go into science itself. I'll tell you about my own example. I wanted to enroll into a law course. I have done my graduation in science in microbiology. I did my master's also in science in biology. But now I want to study law. They have welcomed me. They never said that since you are a science graduate, we will not take you into post-graduation course in law. Here also, so you actually get a chance to change your streams, to explore. You can take a few courses from science, a few courses from arts. You can club both and get your degree. As I said earlier also, courses are very, very specific. So a commerce student can go into all of these things. If they are interested, they can go specifically into logistics and supply chain. If they are more interested into international trade, they are welcome to study import-export. If they are interested into public administration, like kind of government jobs here. Just to make it clear, there is no permanent job here. Even public jobs are temporary. So those who want into public, they can go for public. So there are various community health worker, police foundations, border security courses. So like huge variety. Those who want to club their scientific background with upcoming field of analytics, they can go into digital healthcare. And please understand that digital healthcare does not require you to be a bio graduate or even a science graduate. If you can show them that yes, you know maths, you are welcome. If you have not studied maths, then at max they will ask you, okay, take at least one course in math, and you are good to do those courses. Human rights is a big issue here. So art students can always go into human rights and they get paid really well. Insurance is quite big here. So the options are huge. That's what I'm trying to stress. And you can choose which one to do. You can choose from very specific to a vast one. one more thing about flexibility is, again, I'll give you my own example. I have a gap of more than 10 years now, right? I finished my studies in 2010, it's 2021, and still I was welcomed. So 10 years gap, 12 years gap, and if you want to start studying even like 15 years gap, you have to just justify why the gap years, and they will welcome you. So what art, science, commerce, there is no differentiation between the streams. Gap year doesn't matter. What about the low scores? What if you did not score what is that much into your college or school days? So when I went to the college in 2004, the first cutoff of my Department of Microbiology was 91 or 92%, if I remember it right. I got admission into third cutoff. Now, this was in 2004. I'm sure cutoff would have been even more higher now of all the colleges in Delhi University. Whereas University of British Columbia, it's one among the like top 50, top 25 universities across the world. And there the cutoff is 85% only. University of Toronto doesn't even discusses what their cutoff is, because as long as you have scored more than 70%, they will look at your CV. So the point that I want to stress upon is that never ever compromise with quality of institute, because here they do not look only at your marks, they look at your overall what you have done, what you want to do, your interest, your background. Is there something special about you that's not getting reflected in the academics? They will look at all of this and then they will decide. So doesn't matter if you have not scored really high, please apply even then for the topmost institutes across the world, no matter which country you are choosing. This is very important because I have seen a lot of people who have scored like 65% marks or 68% marks, not even applying to top universities because they think, again, because they think they have not scored that much. Please do not make this mistake. This is the single biggest mistake that students applying abroad make. So if they are not only looking for marks, then what else they are looking for? This is a very important slide. I want you to read this. See, this is the screenshot from MIT on the left hand side. And on the right hand side, these are my conclusions. I want to spend some time on this slide. MIT required that, like, world's number one. They need people who are curious, who are driven to explore, who want to try out new things, people who love hands-on approach, people who are really supportive of each other. You may be a top-notch student, you may be a gold medalist, but if they judge that, okay, this guy doesn't like to be a team player, then no, you're not welcome there. You should, so these are the pointers that what all you should go into your SOP. And for the teacher, these are the pointers that what all things you can write about your student if you want to increase their chance in the top-notch institutions. Like academically, you will anyway write, but you should also touch these points, like how are your students able to support each other? Are they team players? What about their analytical thinking capability? Are they stimulating? Are they fun-loving or not? In addition to the recommendations, please write about these qualities also when you're writing a letter of reference for your student. For students, please understand that these are the things that you must highlight. How will you highlight these things? For example, now during COVID times, how will you show your potential like even in the final year exams, or if you imagine you are applying to some MBA and they ask you, okay, so what special you did in your COVID time? How do we know that you are good? Or how do we know that you have an analytical thinking mind? So these are some of my ideas that students can take up small projects, no matter what. They can, a science student can take up a project in social science. A social science student can take up a project in commerce, doesn't matter. Take up small projects, if not offline, then even online surveys you can do. One of the way I am doing webinars, you can organize webinars among yourself also. You can tell that, okay, these are the topics that I presented among the webinar conducted by Swami Shraddhanand Alumni Association. This is the research I did. One example that I would say is that came up that I can think of right now is lot of people throughout the world, they are showing hesitancy to take COVID vaccines. What can be the reason? Maybe you can do a survey in your locality, or maybe you can do an online survey and present your findings in a webinar conducted by your college like this. You can also volunteer. Volunteering is really big here. It's as good as job experience. It also is the proof that you are supportive and a teamwork, your volunteer experience. So these are some of the my pointers. I really would like to know your pointers at the end of this discussion. Let me touch about the costs. So Canada, I told you it's a bit cheaper. Here, the cost of tuition, of course, it varies a lot depending on the city. But a rough figure is around 10 to 15 lakh rupees per annum. That should do it for most of the programs that you want. However, management degrees and healthcare degrees, they do cost a lot. But generally speaking, these costs are cheaper than US and UK. So we touched about what the university need. We touched that how there are a lot of variety, and there are a lot of options to change your streams. These are some of the top universities. So in Canada, where I can help you applying without charging anything. So these are like really good funded universities. These are the universities which do really world-class research. The funding is really good. The scholarships are really awesome. For Indians, lot of Indians, almost 2/3 of Indian students, they tend to stay in GTA area. That's the number one choice. So for Toronto area, these are the top 5 colleges that you should always consider. And I can give support you in applying to all these colleges without charging anything. The key thing is that the colleges here, you should choose public colleges, and all of them, the way in India we have like approved colleges, here they are known as DLI, Designated Learning Institutes. So all you have to do is to find out whether the college is a public and a DLI or not. And if that is, you are good to go. Never ever think that colleges are in any way inferior to universities, even though the system is separate. It's just that they focus on different aspects. Let me repeat, colleges prepare you for the job market. So if you want to go into job quickly, the colleges should be your preferred choice. If you want to go into research, higher education, or even inventing new technologies, like those kind of stuff, that university should be your choice. Now think about it, like here cannabis is, these are some of the pointers. Again, I just want to describe the variety. Now here cannabis is legal. So even an art students or a commerce students can get into cannabis industry. Science students, of course, those who are biology students can also work here. So this is people who know plant tissue culture, people who know about legal regulations, they are all welcome to try into this. People who have science background, who have little bit of maths background, they can go into clinical consultation. Now, clinical consultation is done by doctors in India, but here they are specialists doing specifically that job. Anybody can do artisan distilling. Now, so many of us would have read about the theory part of that. Winemaking is globally, it's a huge industry, not only in Canada, Australia, France, Italy, even China is investing a lot of it into winemaking. So these are the programs that help you get into industry really fast, and they pay you really well here. That's why these are some of the points that I wanted to discuss. Here, food processing is highly regulated, and therefore you need certifications to enter into food processing. Once you have them, sky is the limit. You can go really fast into food processing and regulatory affairs. Here, again, environmental government spends a lot of money for protecting the ecosystem. So here, environmental students, almost all environmental students, they can be from biology background, they can be from chemistry background, they can also be from arts background. They can work. They can really go and do hands-on work like lake conservation, removal of algal blooms from the lake, So they can do all those hands-on things, and they get paid really well. Almost all environmental students, they get jobs there. So options are huge. Where you can choose how the duration of your studies. Everybody gets a chance to work. I'm not saying that everybody gets a job, but everybody who wants to work here gets a job, because unemployment is really low in Canada. So it's a really good option. And if you want to come here for higher studies, I am somebody you can rely upon, because I have tied with more than 1,000 colleges. Moreover, I do not charge students anything for my services. All my services to students are absolutely free for more than 1,000 colleges. I will write your SOP. I will write your letter of intent, whatever the university requires. I will help you to prepare for the interview. Once you land here in Canada, I will also help you to search jobs. Again, I will not find the job for you, but I will help you to find jobs. Not only that, I have also started my own scholarships. So it's a proud moment. So in Indian currencies, I am offering scholarship worth rupees 6 lakh for students who are interested in studying abroad. This is a summary. This is about my number. So there are 13 scholarships worth around 6 lakh Indian rupees. So before ending, let me quickly summarize that do not restrict yourself. That no, mujhe to bas yahi mila. Please, no matter what you have scored, do try to apply for top institutes across the globe. No matter your score, even if you have gap years, if you want to change streams, opportunities do exist and they are huge. If you want to settle abroad, do consider Canada. And of course, if you want to come to Canada, I can provide you reliable services. I have experience doing all this. Some of the students whose SOPs I polished, they are now doing really good. All of these are Swami Shraddhanand students. This I really want. All of these students are Swami Shraddhanand, Department of Microbiology students, and now they are doing really good in their respective careers. Continued. Yeah. So that's all I want to say. The request to all of you is to stay connected. Please go to my Facebook page. Please go to my LinkedIn page, and let's connect. Whatever queries you have, you can address them to me. You can book absolutely one-to-one half an hour free session where I can discuss your individual queries, your individual concerns in detail. That is of no charge at all. So I really want to you to try your best shot at whatever education you want it, and never settle for less. Thank you everyone for listening so patiently. Now the presentation is over. I would really like to hand over the mic to the host so that we can go to the question and answer sessions.
Thank you so much, Mr. It was such an enlightening. Archana ma'am, are you saying something?
I want to just give a compliment to my child Lalit, that it was a very, very mesmerizing, very impactful, very useful discussion, Lalit. We are very, very and more proud of you because you're contributing to the future generations very selflessly. And I can say that he's very hardworking. There is no limit to his sustaining efforts, that I know personally. And see, look at this, that he's so generous, and really from his heart, he wants to support the next generation, that too of the Indian population more and more. And look at his loyalty towards his college.
Yes, exactly. He is giving back to his alma mater and his future students of his college.
I want to, thank you, Dr. Namrata. She's the co-convener of the Alumni Association.
Thank you,
I would like to pinpoint that I'm very happy to say that once I had invited him informally to motivate the microbiology students just after the lockdown had started. So from there, when he saw the good response of the students, And he was very useful then also. So many of the microbiology students approached him. After that, he enhanced his activity very much. Please, आप लोग सब mute कर लें. Akanksha, can you mute? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. So from there, he got very encouraged, and he put his heart and soul, and his family supports him. His wife also supports him in this. She's also a very bright person. And I was very impressed, Lalit. Very proud of you. And I'm very happy that you belong to us. Now, over to Akanksha. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I can hear the love Archana ma'am has for her students, and especially for you, Lalit sir.
Yes,
She's
ma'am. Can I
basically
just stop?
Yes, sure, sure.
Ma'am is really amazing. I mean, I told you, constant support for even students who have passed from there like a decade ago. Where do you find such teachers now? Ma'am, you are really unique. You are really special. I can't say how much I owe it to you.
That is so nice to hear. As teachers, when we get to see our students, I'm younger than you, sir, but still I would like to say that, as teachers, we feel like they're our children. And when they do well, when we see them, doing well in their futures, it's like a success for us too. So I think Archana ma'am, I can see the love in her eyes and her speech that she's very proud of you and she's very happy to have you here. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for the enlightening, enriching session today. I think all our students must have had a good experience listening to you and to learn from you, and also plan better for the future in other countries. We have a lot of questions in the chat box. Let me take them up one by one. So for you, so the first question is from Kashish. He's saying, how can someone just go abroad, because a few countries don't allow students to go there on work basis. So you need to first take admission in one of their college, and then after a few years, you will get a citizenship maybe. So what if a student just wants to go there for work, not to actually pursue education? Is there any way?
Okay. So before I start individual questions, let me repeat that all of you who are interested or who want to explore options, I invite you to for one-to-one interaction sessions. All of sessions are absolutely without any charge. So where we can talk for longer for each one of you. It's just that you need to book appointment, and my WhatsApp number and my website is there on the slide. Let me just quickly give you also that you can, those who have not taken a picture can also take a picture of this slide. Please connect me and then we can discuss in detail. And then ma'am, I'll take up these. Let me just give you take a few seconds. Huh? So individually, I will understand your requirements better.
Akanksha, after this question.
Is my screen audible now? Sorry, is my screen visible now?
No, not yet.
No.
Now?
Akanksha, Manish का जरा ले लेना इसके बाद, Dr. Manish.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
So please take a picture of this and please connect, because in this session it may not be possible to answer all of your queries, or I may not understand your individual circumstances really well. Okay, now I am stopping, and now let me, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
So the question was.
I got it. I know the question. So see, I gave you the example of Israel. Israel doesn't allow you to work. However, if there is some specific reason that you want to study in Israel only, then it's okay. You can do it. Canada allows you to work. However, if you don't want to come here as a student, even then, see, Canada is really immigration friendly country. Let's be very frank in this discussion. Canada has very little population. Like population of entire Canada is only 33 millions in such a big country. So they want people to come here, and those who want to work here, they can also take work visa and come. It's possible. It's a lot of students do that. A lot of professionals do that. However, if you want to settle in Canada and grow in Canada, it's always better to come here as a student and study, because degrees that you take from Canada, they don't care about those degrees. degree that you take back in India. Reason is everybody looks for Canadian experience. That's a bit biased, but it's the truth. They look for specific Canadian experience, and because of that single reason, if you have not studied here in Canada, your growth may be stunted. Even now, I am quite an experienced professional, right? But even now, I myself am also going to college so that I can grow further. I am running my own business. That business requires me to go to college, so I am doing that. And that's it. You want to come here and work, you can do that as a student. For you will get PR, you will get citizenship for whoever asked it for Canada, yes. But if you will not be able to grow much, like it's one thing to keep working at $50,000-$60,000 a year, but it's completely different ball game to try to aim for $150,000 a year, right? So if you are getting the opportunity, better to come here as a student, study so that you can grow. However, if you want to specifically come for work and you are happy with whatever growth that area provides, that option is always there.
Thank you, sir. I hope the answer is clear. Manish, sir, you wanted to ask a question. Can you unmute yourself and ask?
Sorry. Akansha, I raised my hand. I'm really happy and congratulations, dear, the way you are contributing for our college and our nation. Really, I have no word to say. Especially, I feel very proud to be part of this college and especially member of Alumni Association. And especially the way you are exploring the opportunities for our student, basically our student of Sutherland College, and I'm really grateful that your vision, your idea, and you're so generous, as ma'am was saying, and especially your funding, you're giving a scholarship. So it is really, it's like historical for me that our students are the level of thinking, the level of contribution so high. So my dear, I'm really happy that our students are doing so many great work in their respective field. So my best wishes and thank you all of you. Just I have to say, I don't want to ask anything. I don't know how I raise my hand. So, but I'm happy that you have given this chance to speak on this particular occasion. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your encouragement. Geeta, ma'am, do you want to ask a question? You have also raised.
Yeah, definitely. First of
Thank
all,
you.
I am very proud of you, Lalit, that you are our alumnus. Secondly, you are a great human being, and that has impressed me a lot. I mean, doing good to others and always being helpful is one of the most important human traits one can have. But I have a general question. Canada is a cold country. For example, many of my friends are living in Manitoba and so on. So it's very difficult to survive there. Like, she says her pipelines are frozen 40 degree, minus 40 degree. So how we, like a person from tropical country, how will he or she be able to settle in the environmental conditions and climatic conditions there? So just a practical tip for that.
Okay, ma'am, yes, it's a cold country. It's just for a Canadian. He may think that India is such a hot country. How do people survive there, right? It's not so difficult, ma'am. All houses are fully heated by law, like all houses, or salt is sprayed on the road. So life goes on as if there is nothing. Just while going out, you have to cover yourself really well. Indian jackets do not work here. You have to buy clothes from here. That's the only thing. Other than that, ma'am, it's really fun. See, I mean, if it's cold, you have to embrace it. For example, lakes do get frozen, but then I go and I try to paraglide over them. So you have to be playful, right? This is one of the most beautiful places. Like being an Indian, I can tell you that India has all things together in terms of environment. Leh Ladakh, like people do live there. So yeah, it's cold, but if you are dressed well, it just doesn't stop you from doing whatever you want. And if you can somehow embrace that, it becomes even more fun. It's not so difficult. All the necessities are taken care of, ma'am, in short.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Geeta ma'am.
nothing to be scared of. There is nothing to be scared of.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, Professor Kadyan,
Yeah.
do you want to
Yeah.
ask a question? Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Lalit, it was a wonderful session after a long time. And when Dr. Archana ma'am does a event, it's always exciting and very enriching as well. I've got two questions, very specific. Question number one is pertaining to MSc Psychology. MSc Psychology, like students do MS Psychology here and they wish to pursue psychology further in Canada. So is there any possibility that they can do PhD, which is paid stipend, paid kind of an paid PhD, or they get stipend on this PhD? That is one question. And secondly, if they go for MSc Psychology per se, how do you take up these courses from Indian context as such?
So second one would be too specific. I don't know what to say, like as compared to Indian context. So let me take the first part first. PhD options, paid options are available in universities. If the student gets into U15 universities, like the way we have IITs and NITs, like top class, here we have U15 universities. If the student gets into that, they get paid really well. Really good stipend is there. So not only stipend is there, they can also get assistantships, like they can assist the teachers in teaching college students, and they can get paid from that also. So typically a PhD student who does, and then they are always allowed to work outside the campus also. So typically a PhD student with all of these sources together, they can again, whether individual person does or not depends on him or her, but they can reach up to $60,000 while pursuing their PhD. Paid options are there in U15 students. The way to do it is to first find the right professor, write to him. That's the first step. If someone is interested, I will help him or her to start this process, because this process takes 1 year time. Yeah, among Indian context, see here what happens is that society is a bit different, so they value things that we don't care about in India. Like for example, they value multiculturalism and diversity a lot. So if somebody is a psychology student, maybe those things may appear a bit different. Other than that, I think it's a fairly standard curriculum throughout the world. It's quite scientific, right? You will agree, Dr. Kadyan, that psychology is not a random thing now. It's fairly scientific and well established throughout the world. So it's same except for that bit of multicultural things. And paid study options are possible.
So is there some kind of, a candidate has to select a university and pursue the respective teachers, professors, or
yes,
there is some common platform where he applies and he gets automatically connected with those 50, 60 universities which are offering this mode of program?
No, sir.
Is it so?
No, sir. No. First option
Yes,
that you said.
individual.
They have to pursue the faculty members.
Thank you
That's
very
the
much,
first
sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your valuable time and information. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, Dr. Kadyan.
Lalit, I want to say that if you have any other answer or input for Kadyan sir's second question at all, you can let me know. I will convey it to him later
Sure,
on,
ma'am.
after the tomorrow or something.
Thank you,
Thank you, Dr. Kadyan.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ratan. Now, hurriedly taking up some questions from our students. Yes, we are running out of time. Are humanities background students not really encouraged for this work? Is that a
Voice is not coming properly.
Preeti, please mute yourself.
I have muted her. Sir, Abhiroop is asking, are the students from humanities background not encouraged for research? Is that true?
No, here everybody is encouraged for research. There are so many topics that are quite, I just told you, they are quite well paid and recently funded. Art students can do PhD also in their subject. I told you, research on human rights, it's such a hot topic here.
Yes.
If somebody even from a sociology background, right, or somebody who is in, I don't know, women rights, gender issues, somebody is from those backgrounds, they can do those kind of research here. They can get paid to go in India and do the research there. That's good.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just that they have to find out that what interests them, right? It's not like there is in some, like in India you have NET exams. If you clear that exam, you will be given an option, right? You will go into research, somebody will hire you or give you a PhD. Here it's not like that. You have to pursue the faculty. And I have had many students to get into these. So if somebody is keen on those things, some art students is keen on those things, I will help him or her to pursue this. They are welcome to contact me.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Ashvika is asking, should one consider picking Europe over Canada for further studies, keeping in mind the work policy for Indians after the course? What are the job prospects for Indians after graduation? Language barriers in non-English speaking country. So is English really given much importance in Canada also?
So the language is English. So yes, it is given importance. Europe versus Canada, I discussed it in my slide. See, if you want to come back to India and work in India, Germany is a good option because education is virtually free there, right? You don't have to pay anything, virtually almost nil for Germany. But then if you want to settle abroad, Canada should be on top of your mind because it allows you to work while you are studying and settling here. No matter which country you choose, no matter which country, you will have to prove your English ability. So for that, you will have to give your IELTS and TOEFL exam. Here, I want to add that those students who are even in their second year of studies, they can give their IELTS TOEFL right now. Please understand that when I told you that do your research and do a bit prior planning, this is one of the key things. IELTS is valid for 2 years. GMAT score is valid for 5 years. So you don't have to wait to enter into your third year, or you should not wait for final year exams to finish to start preparing for this. Just start preparing for them right now. For example, IELTS and TOEFL, they usually are just like class 10th English. People are really scared of them, but if you take those exams, it's just class 10th English. Do it, give the exam now. If you score good enough, fantastic. If you don't, then you have time to prepare again, right? You have time now. So these are the tiny ideas that help you save years. The same exam, if you prepare while your college final year exams are coming on, then it becomes extra burden on you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Mohit is asking, how is an exchange program different from studying abroad, and is acing GMAT enough to get admission in Harvard Business School? And how is the MBA program different from the top B schools in India?
Acing GMAT enough? No, it's not enough. It's just not enough. You have to show a lot of work experience. You have to show that you ask like this. See, the question that you have to ask it, what will Harvard gain from you? Don't ask yourself that what will you gain from Harvard? What do you bring to the table? Like everybody is a genius there. Like everybody will have some sort of work experience. One of my juniors, she got into Stanford, and she had to answer this, that okay, what are you bringing to the table? It's the same question that you may be asked in B schools like ISB, IIMA. Like everybody has scored almost same marks. So what makes you special? Maybe you can prove that you are more helpful. Maybe you can prove that you will use that education for a cause. That cause can be anything, like women empowerment, like whatever, like fighting for climate or climate justice, whatever. Where you have to show them that where your soul lies, and it's not easy to answer. Please understand that if you bluff, they will recognize you. So this is the unique part that you will have to do. Work experience, yes. Good GMAT scores required, yes, you will have to do. For what was the other part? How is it different from Indian B schools?
Yes, top Indian B school.
So top Indian B school, from top Indian B schools, you have to understand with, again, I can share with my experience. What is so unique about B schools that people get placed? I mean, anybody can learn basic accounting, like anybody can learn those management theories. So what is so unique about B schools that just a second, sorry, that the graduates are in demand? key thing there is your network. B schools help you to be a part of that exclusive network, and that's like, if you go into ISB, you know that top companies are going to hire from there. If you are into Harvard B School, Stanford, or here even Rotman in Canada, one of my clients did manage to get into Rotman. It's the network that matters. It's what you do outside the classroom that matters. What kind of projects you are working upon, whom do you rub your shoulders with. So in that criteria here, the unique part will be the global exposure. I mean, globally top companies, in just like the way Indian top companies come to ISB or IIMA, globally top companies, including from China and Japan, they come to hire Harvard students. So you get a big platform to prove yourself, and you get a very high, very high position to start with. In terms of maths, what they teach, it's same. There is nothing is different. I mean, just as an example, what E. coli does, what a cell wall difference is, DU will teach the same thing. Ma'am, Archana ma'am will teach the same differences as somebody in I don't know, in some small school in Nagaland will teach, right? But what DU provides is the opportunities to go to the lab. Facilities are better. The students, your group is better.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Any inputs about UK, pursuing studies in UK or in Germany? A lot of students are asking about Germany and UK.
Okay, so in Germany, studies are the cost of studying is really less, like almost nothing. However, it's a bad idea to even think of staying there and settling there. If you want to study and come back to India, yes, do choose Germany. I will help you with scholarships. If you want to go into like areas like financial technology or analytics, UK has some of the world's best options. Like really world's best options are in there. But again, it's not such a good idea to think of settling there, because the work permit duration is much less. It's in current scenario, it's almost impossible for a student to take UK citizenship. Almost impossible. So the first criteria, decide what do you want. Do you want to settle in India or abroad? After that, come to the country and cost. Because see, these costs may look right now too much, like, but once you start earning in dollars or pounds, it's not so huge.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I think there are many other questions, but due to the lack of time, I would ask the students to then again talk to you on a personal basis. You have given your number. All the students can contact sir with their personal queries, because otherwise it will take a lot of time for him to answer each and every person here in our webinar. So again, sir, thank you so much. I hope none of the other faculty members have any questions left for sir, so that we can begin with the vote of thanks.
Akanksha, I have a little question, if ma'am allows. Archana ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Archana ma'am. Again, it has always been encouraging with the, being part of all these encouraging sessions. You have always been an input for providing us the platform. And I really feel blessed that I have been working under your, leadership and learning a lot. Of course, I don't deny I'm really learning a lot with your guidance. And Lalit sir, it is really being, given an opportunity for us as faculty also to understand, how we can also encourage our students to, go ahead. And I really want to share one thing, because we have in our honors course as remote sensing and GIS as one of the subjects. So now students are really moving ahead towards, exploring the opportunities given by the countries with this as a technology or as a tool where they are using them, and then, under some project, as Lalit sir, you have already mentioned that how you actually decide firstly to choose, whether really want to work, then to settle, and then choosing a country. Really, I mean, that is one point. And then I really want to ask that in one of the slides you have mentioned about some agriculture. If you take as a subject, and how students then further can, look forward, because these are some subjects where geography actually, we as geographers are now looking into our avenues and our fields where students can enter, but we are lacking that opportunity, and we always see a road end now. And our D school as a main department of geography is really looking, and we all teachers are also working hard towards looking up the avenues for the geographers. So I think we always now encourage students, but they always deviate from geography now. They go for business, as all you all have mentioned. B schools are there, and then they all go for other fields, but they leave geography then. So I think we have these subjects now, upcoming subjects as agriculture geography. Then we have this remote sensing, GIS, geographic information system. One is this query, how geographers can be part of that, where yes, a master's is there, degree is there, then of course the PhD degrees are there. We can always opt for that. But apart from that, how geography students can be benefit. And second question is on behalf of, I think, we as a faculty, or I personally as a faculty, if I want to ask, if we choose to go for postdocs, then how we will be benefited. I mean, how we can choose that option, and which way we can, bring ourselves or our futures also, our subject into that kind of thing. If somewhere we can, you can just put a light on that thing.
So thank you, ma'am, because this is really important. About the postdoc thing, I'll speak to you maybe separately in one-to-one thing.
Oh, that's
Because
great.
most of- yeah, let's connect separately and let's have a detailed discussion about postdoc
Right.
opportunities.
Right.
About the first part, ma'am, see, so again, this is important for everyone. Please do not look yourself only as a graduate of that stream. What I mean is, you students should not look themselves only as students of geography. They should look themselves as a graduate first. You are teaching them GIS and remote sensing, right? The jobs where these skills are required in Canada, they exist in environmental sector. So when here you have teams that go deep into the forests, really deep into the forest, and they see there whether some sort of new species is coming. If let us say if some unwanted plant is, they can find out. Then they have to tag it, like where this from, why is this plant here, from where this invasive species came, right? So the knowledge of geography, the knowledge of remote sensing and GIS, it combines with the knowledge of environmental science, whatever they are reading.
True.
And then, so this is how they should look. The same techniques are also used in mining sector, right? So Preeti ma'am, your students who are interested in jobs, right? They already know a bit about remote sensing and GIS. By the time they are done with studying, they can do their further studies in mining. They can do their further studies in environmental sector. They can do their further studies in ecosystem restoration.
Yes, sir.
Right. And within 8 months, they should be ready for work within 8 months, because of what you are teaching them. It's just that they should not only look for, while doing their search, while doing their course search, they should not only go for geography, but they should look at what are the techniques they learned at GIS and remote sensing, where all these things are required. Right, ma'am? This is how the approach that they should take. In terms of jobs are available in Canada, in environmental sector, in ecosystem restoration, in mining sector, ma'am. Jobs are there. And there are specific courses that train students how to use those instruments. Again, it's a fact, I don't know, but maybe the instruments that you have, maybe they may not be so latest, so student may need a little bit refreshing course. So there are specific courses, like 2-semester course just for in remote sensing and GIS. Why not?
Okay.
And then they can go ahead to the job market, and jobs, I told you, even not in Canada probably, but in Israel, and that slide was in respect to Israel. Israel is using that technology to find out the pest infestation in agriculture. So whenever fields are huge in some countries, like really big fields, and it's not possible manually to go and check each and every plant. So those things are used there. So maybe they can learn a bit of pest control and GIS and then club together and work in agriculture sector, right? Or maybe they can learn how from microbiology about algae and about pond ecosystem, and then they can club your knowledge of remote sensing, and then they can find jobs restoring the lakes. So that's how they should approach, ma'am. What the technique they learn, where that technique is required or applied, and then they should go for their further studies, ma'am. If someone is really interested in pursuing these careers, again, I can discuss with them what are the courses.
Yeah, surely.
So, Lalit, I think Preeti ma'am also and all others can get more customized answers at leisure. Once they write to you on WhatsApp, take the time and then contact by WhatsApp call. The last thing before Dr. Akanksha can give the vote of thanks officially, Dr. Nitin Chauhan from microbiology, who is the youngest faculty amongst us in the department. So he actually has raised a hand. Nitin, do you want to say anything?
Actually, I don't have any question, but I wanted to say, Mr. Lalit, that today's presentation was excellent. And I haven't attended a session like this on foreign universities before. And moreover, you are giving your own scholarship. You are truly contributing to the society, to the nation, I must say. And you are a great human being, very kind, very generous, very genuine. Many thanks to you and best wishes to you. And I'm really thankful to Archana ma'am for always arranging so wonderful sessions. I'm blessed to join the team microbiology with you. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Lalit.
Thank you so much. I would like to endorse Nitin's word about Lalit. So he's really guessed it right.
Okay, ma'am, can I take 1 minute time?
Half a minute, Manish. Half a minute.
Yeah. ललित, एक तो बहुत भविष्य की शुभकामनाएं। दूसरा मेरा जो सवाल ये है कि जो भारत में अनुसूचित जाति जनजाति के जो बच्चे, those who are from marginalized section of the society, is there are some tie-up with Canadian government, with Indian government? So that's my question. Thank you, ma'am. I think I have completed my query in 30 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Here I am not sure about that. In fact, I would strongly encourage for you to. This is like, this question is a bit. How do I say? Yeah, I'm not aware of any such caste-specific opportunities or interactions. However, the Department of Sociology, they are looking into, there are PhD opportunities for students who want to study caste system. If that's what somebody is interested in, that what caste system works, how it works in India, or how to fight against it, some universities may give research support, but government to government, I am not aware. Moreover, sir, to be honest, nobody even understands what caste is here. So it's a completely alien concept. If caste is what you meant, if you meant generally that marginalized section, some scholarships are there if the student can really prove that they are in financial needs. But those are by, again, private contributors. That once a student gets selected into a university, I told you that U15 universities are really well-funded universities. So if, let us say, if some student is getting into University of British Columbia, and after getting his offer letter, then he writes to the faculty or the university that I am from marginalized section, this is the evidence, and I need some financial help, then they may provide some sort of extra financial help. That's all. But based on that, whether selection
I think,
Thank you.
yeah, Lalit, also I remember you said that there is not much disparity over there.
Yeah.
So it's all performance oriented, and then population is less. So nobody is kind of exploited or anything. So everybody is equal. You have to work, you have to prove yourself and sustain. Whoever you are.
And please ensure that opportunities are here. Like the moment you are landing here, you are getting 20 hours to work. That's enough for a student to earn his or her living expenses the moment they are landing here in Canada. Once they are able to work 40 hours a week, that's quite okay. I mean, not great, but okay, right from their college days. And if somebody is successfully completing his or her studies, then you expect that they will earn more. So as I told you, 40,000, 50,000, almost everybody earns here. And for Canadians, it may, lot of them may not even understand what is caste, if that is what you want. General poverty, financial poverty, yes, they understand. They do try to help, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was very enriching, scintillating, stimulating session, and we utilized our time and we thank Lalit. I must here add that it is past midnight for him, but he is suiting to our requirement, and I had to keep it on Monday because only Sunday and Monday are his off days. So
Yeah,
thank you so much. Immense thanks, Lalit. And then whatever you want to say, you may say. After that, Dr. Akansha may close the session, please. Yeah. Yes, Lalit.
yeah. So we are, there are 4 time zones. For me, it's 3 o'clock in the night. But I'm so happy to see you all. And Shraddha, always it's very special for me, really special for me. About Archana ma'am, whatever I am because of you. Whatever I am, like you have shaped me up. Yes, dear all faculty members and students, helping Indian students has been a part of my heart and soul from forever. 10 years back when I was in India, that's the reason when I started the NGO. And I do understand financial support is needed. That's why I am doing this. This is my contribution to help Indian students to explore and grow. So thank you all again for taking out your time. Thank you all for taking out time on a Janmashtami. Jai Shri Krishna. May God bless you all. Thank everyone.
You are today's Krishna of ours, Lalit. You are our Krishna, and we all bless you. He's going to be a dad soon. God bless your family, Lalit.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Archana ma'am. Thank you, Lalit sir. Now presenting the official vote of thanks on behalf of the entire alumni committee of Edison College. I would like to thank you. Thanks to our alumnus, Mr. Lalit Pankaj, for taking out time from his busy schedule today, and of course enlightening us all today on how to apply for higher education in other countries, which I truly hope that are going to benefit our students in their future and also help them in planning on how to go about pursuing masters and also some research programs in Canada and other countries. The services that you are providing, sir, are I think immensely great. And I guess a lot of our students are going to contact you, and also the faculty members are going to contact you personally for further questions. So thank you so much, sir, for sparing time for us. I would also like to thank our dynamic principal, Professor Praveen Garg, sir, for gracing the occasion today and also motivating us all to carry out such programs on a regular basis in the college. I think his guidance and support always make us strive to work towards betterment of the college always. So thank you, sir. Thank you for staying with us today and also taking out time on a holiday like Janmashtami. Then I would like to thank the convener of the alumni committee, Dr. Archana ma'am, I think who is the heart and soul of this program. Her constant efforts, enthusiasm, and all that she does to reach out to our alumni and invite them to the college to interact with the students and everything she's doing for the committee, I think it has made the committee what it is today. And without her, it would not have been possible to carry out this program. Thank you so much, Archana ma'am. Thanks a lot for motivating us always. Also, I would like to thank the entire alumni committee for all their efforts and help and guidance in making this program a grand success. Thanks also to all the faculty members, all the students for joining us today, even though it was a holiday. And I really hope that the talk has helped you all to plan for a better future in some country other than India. Of course, there's a good future in India, but then again, if you want to plan for some other country, I hope the talk helped you today. Thank you so much for coming here today, and thanks a lot, Lalit sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And I would like to thank I would say Dr. Akanksha Gupta. In anticipation, she's going to be a PhD soon, for the technical help and for all-round support, unconditionally, without any barriers. So very indebted to you, Akanksha. Stay blessed. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha ma'am. And thank you, Praveen sir, for all this. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, sir has
Okay.
left. Yeah, we'll convey. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And can we take a picture, Akanksha? I did not plan it earlier with Lalit, and maybe I can call sir back for a moment.
Sure.
Can you? Can you, or shall I ask somebody else?
Ma'am, yes, somebody else will have to call sir because I am on my phone.
मैं करती हूँ, मैं बुलाती हूँ. कोई है जो ले सकता है? पिक्चर कौन ले लेगा? माइक्रोबायोलॉजी के बच्चे बता दें. Ramjeet is here.
I will take, ma'am. I can take the picture.
Okay. Let me call sir first then. पहले we should have planned it earlier, ना? And बाकी तब तक मुझे ये कहना है कि ललित सर के साथ कांटेक्ट कर लेना आप लोग, ठीक है? एंड आपके हिसाब से कस्टम मेड हेल्प सर कर देंगे आपको. Everybody get ready for the picture. जो भी आ सकता है कैमरा पर. He is joining. Let us be ready जिससे कि time और ना लगे. Yeah. आकांक्षा देख लेना जब सर आए तो.
I would request all of you to please open up your video cameras.
Hanji madam.
Yes sir. Thank you sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone, please open up your video cameras for a photograph with the Dr. Lalit.
डॉक्टर घर के बिना पिक्चर नहीं लेना चाहते थे हम लोग.
नहीं दौड़ सकता है.
सर सॉरी, हम लोग पहले प्लान नहीं किया था. इट वाज अ नेचुरल स्पॉन्टेनियस थिंग.
Okay, I know.
Yeah.
Is everyone ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Smile, everyone. Okay, some people have opened their cameras right now, so I'll take it again. 1, 2, 3, go. Smile.
Thank you sir. Thank you
Thank you,
sir.
madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Akansha.
Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, Lalit.
Thank
God
you, ma'am.
bless. Go to bed now,
Bye,
Lalit. Thank you.
Bye. Good night, Lalit.
Good night, Lalit. जा सकते हैं ना आकांक्षा?